Today we are diving into a really important Supreme Court case from 2007, Chaturbhuj versus Sita Bai. It tackles a question that is, still a huge point of debate in families and courtrooms even today.
So here's the big question at the heart of it all. If a wife is earning her own money, does that automatically cut her off from getting financial support, maintenance, from her husband if they separate? It's a really tricky situation, right? Well, this case delivered a powerful answer that has stuck around ever since.
Okay, so before we get into the legal nitty-gritty, you've got to understand the people involved here. This wasn't just some abstract legal argument. It was a real story about a couple who'd been married for 40 years but had been living apart for over 20 of them. So on one side, you have the husband, Chaturbhuj. He's a retired government official, he's got a steady pension coming in, he's got rental income, and he's even running a little money-lending business on the side. Pretty well off. Then you have his wife, Sita Bai. She's unemployed, but she does have a little bit of rental income from a house that her husband had actually built in her name. This detail becomes super important later on. And this really sets the stage for the core legal fight. The husband's argument was, look, it's pretty simple. She's got her own income streams, she can take care of herself. But the wife's side of the story was totally different. She argued that her income was just not enough to live on, especially when you compare it to her husband's lifestyle and his resources. She felt she was legally entitled to his support. So this is where it gets really, really interesting. The entire Supreme Court decision hinged on how you interpret just 4 words in India's maintenance law. 4 words: unable to maintain herself. I mean, what does that actually mean in the real world? The court came up with something completely new and honestly groundbreaking. They called it the standard of living test. They said, unable to maintain herself doesn't just mean you're starving or about to be homeless. No, the real test is this. Is her income enough for her to live the same kind of life she was used to when she was married? This one idea shifted the whole conversation from just survival to maintaining dignity and a certain quality of life.
Okay, so how did the court justify such a big change in thinking? Well, the reasoning wasn't just pulled out of thin air. It was actually deeply, deeply rooted in the Indian Constitution's vision of social justice.
You see, the court didn't just see this law as a rule in a book. They saw it as a tool for social justice, made to protect vulnerable people. They tied it straight back to the Constitution, pointing to articles that allow for special protections for women and uphold the state's duty to look after its citizens. And here's the key takeaway they emphasized. Maintenance is not a punishment for the husband. It's about society fulfilling its responsibility. And this quote they referenced from the brilliant Justice Krishna Iyer just sums up their whole philosophy perfectly. He called these laws vibrant words with social functions to fulfill. What that means is the law can't just be read like a dry old text. It has to be alive. It has to be read with empathy to actually help people in the real world. So if you break down the court's logic, it's super clear. Step 1, everyone agreed the husband had enough money to pay. No debate there. Step 2, they also agreed, yes, the wife has some income of her own. But then came step 3, the crucial question. Was it enough? And that's when they brought in their new test, comparing her income to the life she used to live. The final finding? Nope, her income wasn't enough to maintain that standard. And just like that, the outcome was set. The Supreme Court threw out the husband's appeal. They said the lower court's decision was right, and they upheld the maintenance award of 1,500 rupees per month. Sita Bai's right to support was officially validated. But the story doesn't end there, not by a long shot. This 2007 judgment, it wasn't just an ending for one family's dispute. It was actually the beginning of a huge shift in Indian family law, and its legacy is, if anything, stronger today than it was back then. And hey, you don't have to take my word for it. Just look at this number. This single case has been cited in over 329 other court cases. I mean, that is the literal definition of a landmark judgment. Its influence is massive. Its impact is just huge. It gives working women a solid legal footing to say, hey, my income isn't enough to live the way we used to and still claim support. It totally changed the goal of maintenance from just keeping someone from becoming destitute to aiming for financial fairness and dignity. It also paved the way for other major cases, like Rajnesh versus Neha, and it really hammered home how important it is for both sides to be totally honest about their finances.
So where does that leave us? Well, it leaves us with a big question that's maybe even more relevant today than it was in 2007. As more and more people achieve financial independence, how do we, as a society, balance that independence with the responsibilities that come with marriage?
This case gave a really forward-thinking answer for its time, and it makes sure that the conversation around fairness and justice in family law is one we're definitely still having today.